Welcome back, folks at home, to another episode of Jamin's Daily. I'm coming to you with a new episode, book review number 2 of Eat That Frog. We're going to finish up chapter 2 and go over the activity that was chapter 2 and then talk about chapter 3. Okay, folks? So, at the end of chapter 2, in our last episode, we talked about planning and how important it is to plan. And the activity was begin today to plan every day, week, and month in advance. And the activity was telling us that over the next 24 hours, we need to make a list and just expand on that list. Okay, folks, this list is never finished. I mean, this list just continues and continues, and it's like this living thing that you have to create. All right, folks, I started on mine. Very simple, but it can get as complex as you want to make it, because it says when you make these lists, you need to make a list of all your projects, multitask type of jobs that are important to you in your future, and then you got to lay out the major goals, the task by priority, by sequence. Okay, because you got to do the important things what first, which would be the sequence, right? So you got to make a priority, which is important, and then the sequence would be, hey, that's first. Okay, and it tells us on this exercise, it's again reminding us you got to think on paper. So I did do my list of everything to do on this notepad here. Okay, folks, and I talk about how. So I did day, week, and month, and then I made some major goals. But so on my day, I had 6 different tasks. On the week, 3, and then on the month, just 1. And the thing is, this is version 1.0. The whole thing that the book is telling us is that in the activity says how you're constantly looking at it, this list, your day list, your weekly list, your monthly list, and you're editing it. You're editing it. You're adding to it. You're augmenting it in ways. And if just by looking at it and working on it, it's going to create a vision and a path. All right. So for the day, this is all in regards to, our goal was all related to, and these exercises are all related, not to me personally in my life, because this is a public podcast that I'm putting out to the world. This is the goals I'm setting are for the podcast. So in a day, the next 24 hours, if I'm trying to reach the goals that I've set for the podcast, I need to call someone and find a guest for Jamin's Daily. That's something that I got to do tomorrow. One of the other things that I really wanted to do was I wanted to download Twitter and Jamin's Daily have its own Twitter handle. I haven't done that yet. So tomorrow I have here on my list, download Twitter to my phone, and then we need to make our first post. Okay? I have as well. So I had 6 different tasks. Another task was research a website design. Either what I'm going to go with, GoDaddy, Canva. There's so many of these I got to look into which one it is I want to buy. Because one of our main goals, and the major goal, was creating a website, a landing page where we could sell merch. Okay? The next 2 tasks are research local podcasts, because we want to be a guest on a podcast. So I need to research some local podcasts so that we can call them. That would be another. So that was part of it. And then a little side bullet for research local podcasts would be call them, email them. You make all these different little tasks for yourself on your list. And lastly, I need to watch episode number 1 of Jamin's Daily and find the coolest little clip from that first episode so that we can create a YouTube short to post this week. Okay, so those are, if you look here, That was on the day right here. Now we have the week. And on the week, by the end of the week or in the week, the goal is set the appointment for the next guest. So by the week, this week, the goal is to have found somebody and made the appointment and have a date and an appointment set for a guest on the podcast. Okay, folks? The other is post an episode. One of the weekly goals is I want to post an episode by the end of this week. One of the episodes that I'm going to post, I'm going to actually post it on Twitter. Okay? We're going to post it on Twitter. We're going to have to probably get a blue account. It's only $8 a month. Okay? I think we can afford it. So we can post up to an hour-long video. All right? So that's the weekly goal. It's also posting an episode of James Daily on Twitter. And then the third, so it was 6 for the daily, 3 for the weekly, is create that YouTube short. But by the end of this week, tomorrow we should have watched it and found. And by the end of the week, though, we need to actually create the short, just those 3. And then lastly, the month goal. The end of the month goal right here. Hit 80 subscribers. We wanted to hit 80 subscribers. If we do all these things daily, weekly, at the end of the month, I will have 80 subscribers. No doubt. There's no doubt in my mind. And these are all working towards the major goals, which are have a website with merch, have 500 subscribers, be a regular. I'd love to be a regular on a podcast. Like I want to just be a guest on podcasts from time to time, have that relationship with other local podcasters, or I can just be podcast talent. I just come on and talk because I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of good at it. You let me know. Send me an email at jmensdaily@gmail.com, or you go to Facebook, YouTube, you comment. So that was the activity that you've seen now with your own eyes at the end of chapter 2. But now we're going into chapter 3. And chapter 3 was very interesting, and it's regarding a simple rule, folks. Simple rule. It's called, and we're going to apply, the 80-20 rule to everything. Okay, folks? To everything. And on the 80-20 rules, also known as the Pareto principle. You can Google it. Pareto principle. Since 1895, this Pareto guy was an Italian economist, and he recognized with his own 2 eyes how 20% of people were the most productive and successful, who were called the vital few. And 80% of the others were not so much, and they were the trivial many. And as he started to observe these things, he realized that this applied to so many other factors in life, this 80-20 rule. And there's so many examples on how what he's talking about, 20% of the time you spend can have an impact on 80% of the results. Okay? We talk about this in the insurance business, about how 20% of your customers take up 80% of your time, because it's the same people who call in. Okay? And when you are able to distinguish these things, so 20, the 20, 80, that 20%, that's the thing. Those are the things you need to do first then. Because the book will tell you, if you had a list of 10 things to do, normally 20%, so 2 of those things are, when added up the value, if you do those 2 things alone are as valuable or worth more than the other 8 things on the list combined. Okay, which is how it works in most cases. The 20% of what's most important, if that's accomplished, you're so far ahead of the game than if you're doing the simple things, the 80% first. Um, and so you have to fight not the habit because you'll fall into it, but you got to fight the urge to do those easy things first, which is the trivial mini, the redundant, the easy things that you boom, 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 you get it done, makes you feel like you've done something. You look busy. The book says how many people look busy, but they're not really accomplishing anything great. They're just doing those menial tasks that are the easy things to do, and they're very likely, like many others, putting the harder stuff, what's probably more important, putting that off, procrastinating until they got to do it at the last moment. All right, so you have to fight the urge. You got to resist, and that's the rule in the book. It's a rule. The rule is to resist the temptation to clear up small things first. You have to tackle that frog. So when you make your list, that's why the lists are so important. When you make the list, you're going to be able to distinguish that 20-80% rule. And the 20% is obviously what? The frog. The 20% of things are the frogs that you got to eat. That's how you know. It all comes together and works together, folks. It's really about quality over quantity. The quality things you need to do is more valuable than all the quantity of things that you can do. All right? So, we're going to take control. And when you make a list, you're going to take control of the sequence of things and how you do them, when you do them, and why you do them. Because when you make a list and you start making these decisions on what's important, what you want to do first in this sequence, it just, it just puts it all together, because it matters. It matters what you do, not how much, okay? That's another thing. It matters how much you do, it matters what you do, not just how much. All right? And that's how you find the frog. The frog is what's most valuable at times. So, it says here, lastly, on this chapter 3, we'll read the last part. In chapter 3, it says, Effective and productive people discipline themselves to start on the most important task that is before them. Remember, the 80-20. 20-80 is really the rule. The 80-20 should be 20-80 rule. It's the 20-80. I don't know why they put the 80-20 if the 20 is what you're supposed to do first. So the 20-80 rule. They force themselves to eat that frog. Successful people do. Whatever it is. As a result, they accomplish vastly more than the average person and are much more happier as a result. This should be your way of working as well. All right. And so this task or this chapter gives us this activity to do, just like the other ones that I've been sharing with you. And we'll start tomorrow's or the next episode with this, like we've done. So it says, make a list of all the key goals, activities, projects, and responsibilities in your life today. Which of them or could be in the top 10 or 20% of tasks that represent or could represent 80 or 90% of your results. So this activity is basically asking me to find out what my 20-80 is. Resolve today that you're going to spend more and more of your time working in those few areas that can really make a difference in your life and career, and less time on the lower value activities. Okay? So when you make these lists, you got to keep in mind the priority and then the sequence. You're going to do the first things first. Everybody knows first things first. That saying. And it applies to this. Again, a lot of this is simple logic, simple wisdom, but in common sense. But common sense isn't very common. And so you have to have, it's nice to have this book to aid you you as a tangible asset to remind you of these things. All right. So we'll work in the next episode. You're going to see the 20-80% when it comes to advancing our podcast and getting to our goal, which is 500 subscribers. Okay, folks. So thanks for joining me once again. Don't forget that you can go to YouTube and subscribe. Help me meet my goal and send it to a friend. When you watch it on YouTube, there's a share button that you can hit and copy it. And then you can go to any one of your social media favorite platforms and paste it and send it to people. Okay. But until the next time, you know what to do. You stick with me because why? Because the best is yet to come.